Welcome to Beyond Roanoke, the show, where we're getting ready to discuss a hot topic. Take it away, brother.
All right, so we're just kind of going over, I guess, our review thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife, which for me, just right off the bat, will explain why. Phenomenal. Love the movie.
It was definitely a very, very good movie. Seen it twice.
Yeah. Yep. Once right before this, so we could have a little refresher. So.
Definitely had some homage to the first.
Oh, so many, and just Harold Ramis in general.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a real big homage to him. Yeah. I don't know, are we spoiling things now, or?
Might as well.
All right.
There'll be a spoiler warning at the beginning.
Okay, there we go. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Harold Ramis died in, I believe it was 2014. So, yeah, it was difficult doing a Ghostbusters movie with all four of them having some form of cameo for it, but the way they did it here was absolutely brilliant. Has to do with his daughter and grandchildren going to Somerville, where he lived. They have no idea why, and they're just trying to figure out, why he wasn't around, go through the shambles of what life he lived there, and then of course Ghostbusters fashion, the supernatural follows. So
Shit is a thing.
yes, very true.
There were definitely some elements of the first one incorporated in it.
Yep.
Some Easter eggs, if you will.
Yep.
They totally ignored the second Ghostbusters movie, and then, by and large, the 2016 version for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I believe that they've said that might be an alternate timeline for that one. I believe. I don't know if that's official. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, they do. They don't do a whole lot, if anything, that I can remember having to do with the second one. Of course,
there was no references to Vigo
Mm-hmm.
or Baby Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually kind of looking for that one.
Yeah, that'd have been cool to see. But yeah. I mean, of course, the creators of them, Dan Aykroyd, Ivan Reitman, Harold Ramis as well, writers, directors of it, weren't really fans of it anyway. Me personally, I always was, but I was a kid when they were, growing up watching them, so I still have a special place in my heart for both of them. But first one definitely being the superior one, was definitely the right way to go.
Let's talk about how they made the first one and what the similarities are with the quote unquote official second or third one, depending on how you view it.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to start with the practical special effects, all that stuff?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously there were some special effects in the first one. They had to be for some of the things they did, but they did a lot of practical effects. And they did the same thing in this one. Obviously, they have some CG aspects of it. But, they have new character. They had Slimer in the first one, and in this one it was, Muncher.
Right.
And, from what it looks like, they used some CG for certain scenes with him, but like Slimer, but at the same time, a lot of the scenes there definitely looked like they had some practical aspects to it.
The dogs for sure.
Yes, definitely the dogs. And in the first one, they had the when you had that cab driver, the skeletal cab driver. They kind of paid homage to that for patron of a diner there. So that was nice to see.
Yeah. The big thing was not only the CG has gotten better, but when you look at the Proton stream from the first one and then the Proton stream in the third one or Afterlife, it was so much clearer
Mhm.
and more well defined. But of course, technology's come a long
Yeah.
way in 37 years.
Yeah, and also, I mean, as weird as it sounds, felt like there was more life to the streams in this
Yes.
than in the original. You know, 'cause, I mean, it's used as a way to hold on to the ghosts enough for them to, you know, get them in the trap, and you really could see that in this one. It was, you know, shown many ways and very well done that way.
And the proton packs, unlike the second one in '89, were reminiscent of the one in '84,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
down to the wear.
Mm-hmm.
The traps. There were some I noticed, like the RC car in Afterlife was reminiscent of something you would have saw in the real Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, the Ecto One having the gunner seat was from the real. Was, you know, it wasn't in either of the movies. It was more from the real Ghostbusters animated series. It was cool having that show up
Yeah.
there as well. So,
You know, I felt like the tribute to Harold Ramis, if I can get it out right, was touching. It made you feel like he was still a part of it.
Mhm.
There was a lot of fan theory going around before it came out in the theaters this year. Of course, because of COVID, they postponed it.
About a year and a half, actually.
There was a lot of hearsay saying that the ghost that originally got that was before it was named Muncher was Harold Ramis. But now we know otherwise, and if you haven't seen it, I think you've gone a little too far in this.
Yeah.
But you know, all in all, I'd say it was a pretty good movie. So much so, you probably want to go see it one or two more times.
Just to see the things you missed the first time.
And you know, with the whole reference to the all girls Ghostbusters, it was okay in their own.
Yeah, they did their
Sense
own
of
thing.
things.
I personally enjoyed the movie because they weren't really trying to be Ghostbusters or to be a sequel. They were trying to create their own universe.
I just don't think that the director, what was his name, Paul Feig.
Yeah,
I think he relied too much on CGI.
I agree. There should have. I mean,
It was just an overgrown light show.
yeah. Some more practical effects
Had
definitely
they-
would have been nice.
Done a little bit more practical and made it a little more realistic, because you know, if you've seen the previews for it or watched the trailer, you think that the guy that's basically a big old sock monster is actually a recreation of Stay Puft, but obviously it's not the case. I mean, it wasn't bad. The story wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the original three made a cameo.
Yes.
But
Well,
I
and,
think it could have been done.
cast of that one. I mean, you can't go wrong with Melissa McCarthy and
No.
Kristen Wiig and all them. I mean, they're great. Yeah, I know a lot of people did not enjoy it. I'm not one of those. I did actually enjoy it.
I went out and bought it before I watched it. So, you know, is it something that if I had to rebuy it, would I rebuy it and do it again? Probably not.
I would.
If it was on TV, would I turn the channel? No, I wouldn't turn the channel. But, you know, if you have to rate them, let's just say you had the first, the second, and then the 2016 All Girls, and then Afterlife. For me, knowing what I know now and being 8 years old watching it, because, you know, I was only a year old when it came out, so I don't really remember any of that. But, you know, being that I remember a lot of it when I was 8, I would say that the first one definitely set up the stage really well. It was a very good origin story. And it was something that if I had to rate it 1 through 10, 10 being the highest, of course, I'd say it'd be a solid 9, 9.5. The second one is not too far off from that. I'd say about an 8.
Yeah.
The all girls one, probably somewhere in the 6 to 7 range. And then this one, just because it carried over from the very first one and tied in together, kind of like the MCU does. I'd say that was around the same as the first, probably a 9 or a 9.5.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably put this 2016 one probably around a 7, just because I mean, enjoyed the casts. You I liked how they were trying to do their own thing. But yeah, no, it definitely goes. One being the top. That's Afterlife and 2 were probably pretty close. Probably an 8. I mean, I absolutely loved Afterlife and all that, but it's hard to recapture
Yeah.
everything that happened for the first one, and that's not anyone's fault because Afterlife is amazing. Definitely go see it. But like I said, I've always really enjoyed 2 as well. I mean, there for a time it was probably my favorite, not the best, just my favorite. But the ooze aspect of it was always fun for a 6-year-old watching it. So
It's a river of slime.
yes, can't complain. A dancing toaster. I mean, for a 6-year-old, way to go.
I think a lot of the reason that the new one feels a little more nostalgic is because they're going to be in it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they focus more on the kids
Because it's their story.
is a testimonial to how strong the Ghostbusters nation is, and the fact that people still have a hankering to see the originals no matter how old they get. Speaking of,
yeah, Ernie Hudson. It is, I mean, some gray around the temples, but it doesn't look like he's aged a day. Absolutely insane. Bill Murray
I'd
still
say
got it as well.
Dan Aykroyd's the one that's changed the most.
Yes. Still
But-
hilarious. Still, Ray Stantz still my favorite Ghostbuster. Always will be.
Bill Murray was still funny as ever, even though he only
Absolutely.
had a handful of lines in this.
Made the most of them.
And make sure you look for the mid-credit scenes.
Yes.
I missed them the first go around.
Yeah, mid-credit and end-credit scene. Not really story related, just nice little throwbacks to the original as well. So yeah, definitely stick around for both of those.
And if you've seen that, comment the Easter eggs that we may not have mentioned below, because
Some we didn't just,
there's some things you don't want to spoil, but as far as like callback Easter eggs to the first one, what did you notice? Because I mean, I'm sure there's a lot.
Oh, I said second viewing, I noticed a few things that I missed the first time. Some I looked right at and just never processed. The second time, just hit me. I'm like, oh, how did I miss that?
But I think all in all, it was definitely a very successful opening week for them. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out our podcast. It's called Beyond Roanoke, the podcast.
I know, original. We do our best.
We'll post a link in the description. Make sure to check that out. And I think that's all we got for tonight.